Let's paint a portrait of a man with magnificent mustache and beard, and of course, we'll paint them using spots. I'm also painting this portrait as part of the Portrait in 30 Minutes series, which you can also participate in if you send me your photos to my Telegram group under the pinned message where I talk about this series. I often tell my students that painting a portrait of a girl or a child is much more difficult than painting, for example, a portrait of a man. And if the man also has a beard and mustache, that's just great and really makes the process of painting and finding the portrait much easier. The thing is, the larger and rougher a person's features are, the easier it is to catch them and depict them on the canvas. In this case, the man has a joyful, happy expression that I love capturing on canvas. The very first layer of paint is a kind of mid-tone for each form, so that later you can add contrasts and create volume. So, for example, if we're painting a face with a mid-tone by adding lighter and darker shades, we get a simplified sense of volume, which allows us to assess our proportions, perspective, and so on. Here, as you can see, I've already started making some changes. Recently, I've started to blur the edges, making them softer so I don't get attached to precise shapes at the beginning when we don't have any accuracy yet. Actually, lately I've been trying to make the peripheral parts of the portrait more abstract. And that's why at the early stages I try to find beautiful spots, beautiful shapes, so that later I don't have to touch them at all. Another very important point is painting a portrait through spots. Try to delay the moment of detailing as much as possible. I even remember I had a stage in my drawing when I made it a rule for myself to delay the detailing stage as much as possible, in order to work out the halftones and the large big shapes as much as possible, because in fact, the main likeness is established through these basic spots and forms, the silhouette shape, and also the tonal relationships, while the details just add a bit of precision. By the way, how can you avoid adding unnecessary details at the beginning when you haven't yet accurately found the tonal relationships and shapes? Use large brushes as long as possible. For example, I usually start with a flat brush size 30 or 40, which is 3 or 4 centimeters. And only when I have found the main spots, volumes, and our tonal relationships, only then do I start drawing the details. Next, I use smaller brushes, but I'm never in a rush to use the tiniest ones and sometimes skip them entirely. Well, now let's get back to our portrait. I've already found the overall form and I'm moving on to the detailing stage. Still, while I have the chance, you see, I'm using the flat brush and I've already added some cool tones to the face, like a bit of green here and there and a touch of blue. By the way, these cool mid-tones that I'm adding are often used at the borders between light and shadow. Well, and also I think you've heard the rule that if, for example, the light is warm, then the shadows will be cool. If the light is cool, like on a cloudy day, then the shadows will be warmer. At the stage of adding details, be sure to take breaks often and step back from the canvas to look at the whole picture, because sometimes up close everything looks similar and you like everything, but when you start looking through your phone's camera or just step back, you see that some main things, it's just really broken or something is crooked, for example, the way I did it. So don't forget to check this a little bit. As you can see, it's a woman again. Blur the shape so it's not so sharp to focus a bit more on the central part of the face and make the peripheral areas a little blurred or fuzzy in some places, but in general, so that we have this effect of focus on the center of the face. Basically, this way I increase the viewer's attention on the elements that I specifically want to highlight. First of all, we're getting closer to the end. I hope this video was interesting and useful for you. If you have any questions, be sure to write to me. It's better to write on Telegram because there I will definitely see your comment and I will definitely reply. Subscribe to my social networks to stay in touch. Thanks for watching and I wish you creative success.